Ladies and gentlemen, today it's time for us to talk about probably one of the biggest issues plaguing Wuthering Waves at the moment. And that issue is going to be bugs and bug fixes. Because good golly gee, while Wuthering Waves 3.0 is an amazing update with a lot of amazing new features, and of course, probably one of the best new regions a game has ever released, it's also arriving with some of the worst Q&A and some of the worst bug checking and bug fixing I've ever seen in the space. The game actually got updated this morning, and this was the changelog for bugs in the game this morning. And the thing is, I'm not even upset by this. This isn't even what makes me mad when it comes to the 3.0 update. It's the fact that there are still even more bigger bugs that still need to be fixed beyond all of this shit. This already looks like one of the most comprehensive changelogs we've had in the history of the game, right? You just go over here, you go into the notices menu in-game. Holy fuck! That's what it looks like. But don't worry, guys. There's actually more. Because one of the biggest bugs in this update is something that they haven't fixed yet. And it's the fact that one of the new sonata sets added does not work. This set over here, Rite of Gilded Revelation, which is clearly the set that's intended to be for a Spectro basic attack damage dealer because it gives Spectro damage, and dealing basic attack damage gives Spectro damage, and then using a Liberation at max stacks gives you basic attack damage. This is Linnea's DPS set. It doesn't work. It does not work in the way that it is described here, and I can prove it to you. So, one of the things about this set is that every time you deal basic attack damage, you gain Spectro damage. So, let's just go ahead and get 3 stacks of that debuff. Now take a look. You can see over here, our Spectro damage is 112. Let's see what it looks like when I just end the challenge over here and let the buff time out. Because that's with the Sonata set activated, right? We're just going to let that buff time out. And let's take a look.
Got a long bucket list.
You can see
Good thing
it's 82 now because we waited the full 5 seconds and let that 30% disappear. So let's restart the TO8. Let's restart the hologram. I'm actually going to go at a bit lower level so I don't die. And rebuild it back up. We did our 3 hits and we're at 112. That means that we have built up a 30% Spectro damage bonus. If this Sonata set worked properly, because I built up 30% Spectro damage bonus, with 3 stacks, if I use my Liberation, I should now get a 40% basic attack damage bonus. Right? I'm at the full stacks. Let's do it.
Don't blink! You'll miss the best part! Got a long bucket list.
112 Spectro damage. No buff to basic attack. It doesn't work. It was at 73.8 before using my Liberation, and it's at 73.8 after using my Liberation. The Sonata set literally does not fucking work. And I don't know how a new version updates, and one of the 3, there's only 3 new sets added. One of the 3 new sets doesn't fucking work. And you want to know what the crazy thing is? I've been hearing conflicting things. I've been hearing some people saying that beta testers reported it and that Kuro just didn't fix it. But how in God's name have they already released a patch note and this isn't fixed yet? Maybe we're just entirely wrong here, right? And the first part of the buff is visible and the second part is actually an invisible buff. But why would that doesn't even make sense either. Because it's all, whenever stats are given like this in any Sonata set, it's never invisible. If it's given like this in a Sonata set, it always shows up in the skill menu. Unless it's like heavy attack crit rate. But this, it's just saying, it's just a raw stat. So it should show up like every other Sonata set, right? That just gives raw stats. All of these other ones, right? Especially Frosty Resolve, which is the most similar to it. That one shows up in the stat menu as well. So I think the main thing is just, how does this happen, Kuro Games? And how is this not actually fixed yet? Because you want to know one of the questions that no player is currently able to answer because this shit is bugged. You want to know one question that nobody can actually answer. How good of a pull Lene is. Because one of the values of a character is how many roles you can play them on in teams. Kuro's already released plenty of units, right? That have main DPS and sub DPS potential. That's actually one of the reasons for why Yuno is one of the best characters in the game. It's because she can do both. And when the character's DPS set, half of it literally doesn't work, or half of it doesn't appear to work, what are we doing, man? What are we doing here? I don't get it. I guess we'll answer this question for real. What if we just look and see how much is her first basic attack doing before and after, right? What if it literally is an invisible stat? Let's just look and see, right? Let's build up that 30% Spectro, do her basic attack 1, see what the damage is, then do her liberation, and then we'll basic attack 1 again. That's a fair way to test it out. Let's do that. And just as the final check, right, we're going to be looking over here and see. This is what her basic attack is at prior to her attacking. Her weapon gives her 36%. That's why she goes up. And she's at 82% Spectro. So this is the testing that we'll do. I'll spawn the fallacy over here. And let's look at the damage. So yeah. Okay, so let's check it out again. 1, 2, 3. So it's like 584 on that third attack.
I'm just getting started.
Are you ready?
Go and call that my signature.
Oh, liberation does give a damage bonus. True.
Mind if I...
It went from 584 to 660 to 633. So 584 to 633, ladies and gentlemen, that accounts for only one thing, a 24% bonus here. There's no way 40% on top of that is being added on if it went from 584 to 633. Because that's how much damage it went up by, and that correlates with this shit. Just this 24%. It would actually be a 64% bonus. 583 to 644 is not a 64% damage bonus. That is not real. That's fake. That's not real. So it's not triggering. It's just not there. It doesn't activate. So we've proven it. It just doesn't fucking activate at all. Isn't that a bit of an issue? If you're trying to determine how good this character is, because when you use a set that she's designed to be a DPS on, half of it doesn't fucking work. Because you want to know what the total bonuses are of this Sonata set? It's 40% Spectro damage and 40% basic attack damage for 80% damage total on Lene's basic attacks. And 40% of it does not fucking do anything. Or sorry, 50% of it. 50% of that buff doesn't exist. When this massive issue is still in the game, but there are actually more bugs on top of it that needed to be fixed first, what happened during 3.0's Q&A process? Who were the beta testers for this version? Who is not doing their job? Because this only occurs when somebody somewhere is not doing their job. Because right now, this is insane. Because you want to know something that I did and potentially a lot of other players did? They might have spent a lot of time grinding these sets. And imagine what these players would have done if they had spent time grinding these sets if they knew it didn't work. Kuro, you basically just wasted the time of every fucking player who decided to try to farm the new stuff in the game. And you want to know what the worst part about this is? If there were beta testers, there are beta testers in my chat claiming that they sent the feedback to Kuro that it was bugged and it didn't work. Then why wouldn't the devs tell you that it's bugged then? If they knew, so that you don't waste your time farming for it. So either somebody knew, so this is the situation. Beta testers reported it. Beta testers reported it. And then Kuro Games proceeded to not listen and not inform the players that this shit was bugged and didn't work. That's one possibility. The other possibility is nobody ever tested this shit and it just released without anyone ever testing it a single time. Do any of those sound good? Do any of those sound good? Kuro ignored it and then refused to tell players that the shit was bugged, so they waste their time, or nobody ever tested it, and so it released broken as fuck. It's one of those two things. And I'm going to be real with you. Both of those sound fucking awful. Both of those sound legitimately terrible. Because I haven't seen a character release this fucked up in a long time. It's... Bro, how do you ship a Sonata set that doesn't work? That it can't be that hard to make this work, right? Like, how do you ship a Sonata set that doesn't work? And then let people, like, farm it. Because this is also what you can do, guys. You can spend your wave plates, or basically your money, on something that doesn't work. And this set is in both tacit fields of the update. This set is in both tacit fields for the update. So, if you do any tacit fields, you're forced to get a non-functional set with your drops. This is really bad. Like, it shows up over here too. That's really bad. There's only 3 new sets. This ain't like 2.0 where you release like 7 Sonata sets. There's only 3. So 1/3 of the sets being broken is a bad look. Anyways, at this point, there's not really too much more to say. Like I mentioned before, they've already had massive issues with the release of previous characters in the past, where it looks like beta testers are literally not doing anything, or Kuro is straight up just ignoring the feedback from beta testers. I don't know what's the case. The only outcome actually is, though, the end result is that the game is releasing with broken-ass units or broken-ass Sonata sets that don't work properly, and they end up getting bug-fixed later. And it feels like the live version is actually the beta half the fucking time in recent months. That's actually what the game, like 2.7, it felt like 2.7 was a beta. I'm not joking. Outside of the story, 2.7 was so fucking buggy, it felt like I was actively playing a beta. And I think 3.0, with what I'm seeing so far, feels almost identical. And again, I just think that when you factor in maybe 3.0, it was coming down to the wire, all that, I can excuse some bugs, like in the story, transitions, cutscenes, that's whatever to me. But a whole fucking Sonata set not working? When it's as easy as just check to see if it's giving 40% basic attack. It doesn't take a long time to see that this doesn't work. I saw it within 24 hours of using the fucking set. You had 30 plus days for the... How is this? It's frustrating to try to hypothesize how this wasn't fixed. Because all I can think is, everybody involved was fucking stupid. It makes me upset to even try to think about how this happened. Because it's just so ridiculous. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.